So, we've all dealt with employees that suck, right?
Some of us may have even been those employees at times.
We're not going to point any fingers here, but
We all know a name that just jumped to our mind.
yeah, exactly what I was thinking. So, boy, do we have a topic for you today. And if that employee is you, these 10 things are how to make you a little bit better.
I love it. All right. Number 1, be punctual and reliable.
Oh, I think this is a perfect number 1 item for what makes a good employee. Because if you can't show up at all, number 1, but on time, number 2, even if it's not critical for your specific job, if you can't show up on time or show up at all when you're supposed to, it's just, it is so hard to envision that individual or actually incorporate that individual in anything of any amount of responsibility. It's just, and I know there's going to be people that are like, oh, well, it really doesn't matter because XYZ thing, or my employee handbook says I can be 5 minutes late. You have to show up on time. If you want to be taken seriously in any amount of corporate America, you have got to show up on time. It just shows general mannerisms.
And I want to touch on that one right there. If you want to be taken seriously, we are going to take the assumption that the people watching this care about their job.
Yes.
Because these are the things that you must do. Some of these are the bare minimum to be considered even decent or good at your position. You can't be considered good at your job if you don't show up to your job.
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. We're making this video for individuals that we're making the assumption you care about your job and you're trying to be successful. And some of these items are a little bit more basic than others. But if you don't care, then they don't really matter. You're not going to take them seriously if you don't care about your job.
Right. Like if you're like, look, as long as I'm there within 2, 3, 4 minutes, look, I get a clock in all at the mark of the 30 or top of the hour anyway. Whatever, no. Mm-mm.
If one of my guys says, well, the employee handbook says I'm allowed to be 5 minutes late,
you're going to
throw
handbook.
it at them, dude. And I think that just goes to show it's you subconsciously, as someone in management or a boss or an owner, you cannot take someone seriously if they cannot show up on time. Even if it's not a big deal to you, you will subconsciously lose respect for that individual. Now, obviously, we're not talking about once a year you show up 3 minutes late.
A fluke is a fluke.
That's one thing. But if you are consistently late, you really need to do some self-reflection on A, why you're late, and B, what kind of an individual you're trying to be. Mm-hmm. Because if you're consistently late or not showing up, you really need to do some self-reflection.
Yeah, this is just the handshake. This is the hello. If this doesn't go well, the rest of this isn't going to go nearly as well. You got to just be on time.
Yeah, it reflects who you are and how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Number 2, I like the second part of this one. Follow the rules, but understand why those rules exist.
Yes, because everyone loves that technicality that Karen loves to play on,
Yes.
You're only allowed 1 coffee break. You're not allowed to wear blue on Fridays. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be able to follow the general agreed upon principles in the guidebook. You kind of sign that's part of your employment contract.
Mm-hmm.
But the underlying item is understanding why that is there.
Absolutely.
Some rules are made because somebody at some time did something really dumb.
Probably.
I'm in an office. There's a reason we have a dress code.
Yep.
Because someone definitely did not follow that dress code.
Yep.
And when you become too much letter of the law, it's no good.
Right.
But you can't push on the letter unless you know why it's there a bit more.
Right.
This is that understand the philosophy of the business here.
Yeah, and this one's an age-old adage of, letter of the law versus intent of the law, and I think really you're gonna come across the same theme on this entire show right here, this podcast, and it's all about mentality, mentality, and it shows just in this one, just the same. If your mentality is, oh, what can I get away with? What rules can I bend or break without getting in trouble? Then your mentality, yeah, you'll get away with a thing here or a thing there, but you're never going to be a true value add to the institution that you're a part of, because they constantly have to worry about keeping you inside of a set of rules. If you can constantly show that you will follow the guidelines that they've set forth, but also be able to work within those guidelines to be a value add to the company without being a strain on, well, yes, you have to do that thing because that's the rule. You're going to be so much more successful. Because again, it's your mentality. If your mentality is what can I get away with versus how can I be a value add, your mindset determines your value to the company.
Mm-hmm. And in the moments where you may veer or push that letter a little bit, if you've been playing within the rules the whole time, they are usually happy to help. They're like, oh, absolutely. This is the actual spirit. We got you covered. And then your boss is on your team. That's so much more helpful.
Yeah, if your rule is no overtime, but you've got a big project you're working on and you need to stay 10 minutes late, that's a different story than your lunch break is 30 minutes long and you've been gone for 45 minutes. Like, those are two very different instances. And again, it's mentality.
Yes.
So,
number 3, polite and professional. This says about being courteous and how you present yourself.
I don't think I can stress this point enough in front of clients or customers. And I know not everyone works in that type of a field, but oh my goodness, if you're in front of a client or a customer, be professional, at least to some extent.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how many times that I've had a coworker or someone that's working for me be in front of a client or a customer, or even not necessarily a client or customer, but someone of a professional nature, and they say the most offhandish, ridiculous, just unthoughtful things, and I'm like, what is going on inside their brain that you cannot have enough sense to be at least somewhat collectible and professional in front of a client or a customer or someone professional? To me, it goes without saying. But anyway, your thoughts on this topic?
It might go without saying, but today we are 100% saying it.
Yeah.
There's language, there is jokes that is never to be said in front of a client, specifically a client here.
Mm-hmm.
I like to view my clients as the reason I have a job.
Right.
If I'm not good with clients, I don't have a job. So treat them with respect. That's the language. No coarse joking. I prefer no swearing, generally speaking here. And not just for the client in front of you, but for the clients who are hearing. If I happen to be in a meeting, and let's say I let the expletives fly, because that client and I are connecting, and that's just how it works. But in the office beside is my next appointment, and they get super offended by that.
Yep, absolutely.
Then was that value add worth more? No. Keep it clean, keep it professional. Also, this does touch into being presentable.
Yep.
If you happen, this is 2026, a lot of people have animals. If you happen to have dog and cat hair all over you, please scrape it off.
Find a lint roller.
Please. That would just, please.
And I know immediately the first thing that's going to come to mind is the individuals who don't work in that customer-facing thing. You know, for example, you're in the back of Wendy's flipping burgers, right?
Yes.
No customers see you. Nobody but your other coworkers are seeing what you're wearing, and you're not talking to customers. You're not interacting with them. But my goodness, have a little bit of professionalism. Be presentable. Don't come in with dirty clothes, cat hair all over you. It doesn't matter. It goes back to, again, like I said earlier, your mentality. And if your mentality is, I want to show up to work and be the best that I can be and be productive, then I'm not going to show up looking like a hobo, unkempt, dirty clothes, whatever. Even if your job isn't formal attire, isn't customer facing, it's still mentality. Be professional, be presentable.
Clean clothes, no BO. And if you happen to be a bit more of a sweaty, pungent dude, hey, I get it. That's where good deodorant. This is not a negotiation. This isn't, well, it's bad for my health. No. We're professionals here.
Right.
Your customers should be able to know you by your smile, not by your smell.
Yeah.
And then just to pick on one here, because I just got a haircut. If you show up to work and I have to invite you into a meeting and you have bedhead.
Yep.
No. Hat, something. You got to. I don't want to know that you just woke up and that you rolled out of bed. By the time you show up in the morning, my expectation is that you're there to do the job and we're there to do good work together. And if you're still waking up, it becomes very difficult to pull that off successfully.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, like everybody has a bad day.
Absolutely.
There are times, people have bad days, right? It's not the one-off or the here and there. It's the collective average of your mentality.
Right.
How you show up every day determines who you are. And if you show up every day not caring what you look like, how you sound, how you speak, then that will eventually reflect into what you do and who you are.
One of my sweaters, so I'm often wear a specific sweater when I'm at work. It's logoed, it's branded, it's a nice sweater. Ripped a hole in the edge of it. It's a small hole. No one's going to notice it. I notice it. Guess what? Don't get to wear that sweater anymore. You know why? It's a point of pride.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Now, does that mean if he wore that sweater, it's the end of the world? No. But if he showed up every day with a sweater full of holes, that would be a different story.
Yes. Number 4, clear communicator.
Ooh, that's a big one too.
Now, I like to, when we're making this list here, this is speaking and writing in a way that actually gets your ideas across. The real easy example here is sometimes slow down your speech, and that way you're not saying like and like. And when I was there, that was like Thursday, and well, that no
Or beep, beep, beep. Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Yes. While you might be like a rapper with your creativity on the lyrics, I would prefer less beeps, generally speaking.
Absolutely.
Especially in writing.
Right. Absolutely. And, I'll laugh, but when I was in high school, I was in a speech class. And I didn't necessarily work with her directly a lot, but we had a coach who would literally throw a pencil at you every time you said the word So if you'd be doing your speech and you'd be like, yeah, ding.
I love this person. This is a wonderful person.
Dude, it was fantastic because, and I think communication is one of those items that's on this list that it's kind of a continuing ed item. A lot of people will plateau on it, but there's kind of a continual ed item. You should continue to try to better your communication skills, whether it's in writing, formal writing, or in person, right? But it's something that there's kind of a scale to it there that I think you should always be trying to improve on.
Mm-hmm. And the point of this is to communicate effectively.
Right.
That's the whole point here. And often that's knowing your audience. So for instance, do not use your jargon of your industry with a client if it's unnecessary and the client doesn't understand it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe sprinkle it in a little bit. That way you're being very forthright with it. But don't be you're not in a classroom.
Right.
Unless you're a teacher. You're not in a classroom. Don't use your jargon. Communicate how the client needs you to communicate, because you're just trying to be effective with each other. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that your conversation can't be casual.
Right.
It just has to be effective and appropriate. A lot of people on here might not work in a customer-facing interaction. So a lot of their conversation may just be with other coworkers. Mm-hmm. And those aren't going to be extremely formal types of communication. But you can still be effective in the way that you communicate with your coworkers, even if it's not formal.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between, beep, 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 beep. That guy sucks, blah, 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 blah. And, hey, this is what we got to do today. This is each individual's role. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is our deadline. The way you present it may not be formal in nature, but being effective in your communication is the key.
And don't assume the person on the other end of the phone or even in person has your full backstory. If I'm in the HVAC office and I get a text from one of the techs saying, "Hey, go ahead and order the flame sensor."
What the heck is that?
One, I'm not going for the benefit of the audience, I'm not going to go through the full diatribe of what a flame sensor is, but just know that I know what it is. But I don't know what unit he's working on. This hasn't been we haven't been talking about this specific unit with that model number the whole time.
Yep.
Sometimes communicating effectively is not assuming that the person has been working with you for 3 weeks right here.
Right.
It's, hey, here's exactly what I need. Thank you so much. Just be effective.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 5, idea sharer and problem solver. Now, as this list was being reviewed here, this is one of the top items from top 5 list from the World Economic Forum. Opinions aside, they have a massive amount of influence. And honestly, everybody wants this. A good idea sharer and problem solver. So,
yes,
someone who is not afraid to speak up, to input their own thoughts, which this does imply you have your own thoughts, and they're not junk. And
sorry about that.
And that you can help solve problems. At the end of the day, all of our jobs are just solving problems. Like right now, I got to laugh. I can't help it. Solving problems is really all of our jobs are in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But solving them in different ways is why we get paid differently and how we effectively help people. But don't be afraid to speak up and share your ideas.
Absolutely. And this can be so many different things, so many different ways. It's a broad term that you're probably sitting there going, yeah, they say be a problem solver, but what does that even mean? Let's go back to the example of the individual who works in a fast food restaurant, right? Like, you're probably not solving a world crisis problem, but you can still put your input in the position that you're at. If, say, for example, you guys are having difficulty keeping up with, the weight of customers, trying to implement a solution to solve that problem of, hey, maybe we add an extra person on the line or switch the location of these items around or whatever. there's a problem in every occupation that needs solved. And even if you're not the most knowledgeable, you can still help. You can still give some input and be proactive in the solution. It doesn't mean, if it's rocket science, it doesn't mean that you're, hey, I know XYZ, that's the exact problem to the solution, and here's how to fix it, blah, 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 blah. But you could say, hey, I see we've got a problem. I've got an idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but what do you think about this? And it can be anything, any way, any occupation, any career. There are problems, and an individual who's trying to solve problems is always much more of a value add than an individual who only brings problems.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to be a silly example, but when you look at the scale, this is a huge value save. I'm required to print disclosures at my position. Mm-hmm. Legal requirement. I have to do it. We'll assume on average it is maybe 50 pages per meeting. Okay? So I'm doing hundreds of pages a day. Someone suggested to the company, why don't we just system default that to print double-sided?
That's funny.
Right? The amount of paper that is saved is, oh my golly.
Remember when I said it can be simple?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be rocket science.
Mm-hmm. I used to work for a call center, and they had a big snowstorm. And every year we'd get these snowstorms there, and they didn't know how they could. They're like, we already put all the snow. So some employee suggested, why don't we just close off this sector of the parking lot and all the snow from the whole building goes over there?
I feel like that's...
Right?
I feel like that one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, you would think that, but for years they didn't think that. That guy got promoted, so. Yeah, but no, some of these things that we would think is obvious. Oh, print double-sided. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these little, and was that overnight? No. But sometimes you got to feed it a lot until the corporate people and everyone, the decision maker, gets in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
and
this is helpful.
Even if you're not sure how to be a problem solver, here's what not being a problem solver is. A, it's not someone who just calls their boss and says, hey, this isn't working. ... Or, hey, I can't do this. ... Hey, I need you to fix this. ... If you're constantly only taking your problems to anyone else, whether it's a coworker or a boss, whatever, if you run into a wall and your immediate reaction is just to pass the buck to somebody else, that's not being a problem solver. Mm-mm. And I would say the other thing that I would add on to that is, if you don't know what to do, if your immediate reaction is just to wait for someone to tell you what to do, that's not being a problem solver.
Mm-mm. Now, this actually directly feeds into number 6, having an ownership mentality.
Ooh. Remember when I said mentality is everything?
This is it.
This is it.
This, and I know there's some cynics on this one here. It's easy to be cynical on this one. My boss makes more than me. The company doesn't care. I'm just a number. Doesn't freaking matter. Mm-hmm. You personally, your name is stamped on that hamburger or on the meeting or on the plumbing or on the HVAC.
I didn't know they stamped hamburgers.
Wouldn't that be great? Made by Jim. Dude, I would... Someone problem solve, all right?
See,
I want...
there's a problem. He just came up with the solution.
Mm-hmm. And since we'll put this online, I have the record. Thank you so much. Patented.
I think this might actually be the most controversial item about a good employee.
No doubt. This is it.
I would be curious to see if you took a poll of just random employees, random occupations. Should an employee have the mindset of an owner, or should they have the mindset of an employee? I would be curious to see what the result is.
As even though we're making the list here, I'm still conflicted on this one here.
I think it's a twofold answer. You should have an ownership mentality about your tasks and your role. And what I mean by that is, if your job is to sell cars, you should be selling cars like your freaking rent depends on it. It probably does. But
Yes.
like, if you don't sell this next car, like, you're going homeless. Like, that should be your mentality of the job, like the exact job that you have to do. Your mentality should be ownership. Let me do it the best way I can, the most productive way I can, and, as successful at it as I can be. On the same hand, I think there's a note to be said. You should have an employee's mentality when it comes to the politics of the job, shall I say that. And what I mean by that is and I'm going to be careful how I say this. As an employee, you want to make sure you're not being taken advantage of in your position to where you're doing something, you're putting yourself in a position in which you're being taken advantage of. I think that might be the best way to say it.
I like that. So, like, example, if your salary, but on your contractual salary, you work about 40 hours. Now, I said about 40, but for some reason, you're always working 90.
I think that's a perfect example of what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not a ownership mentality to the point of personal harm, but a ownership mentality in how you go about the tasks that are yours to complete.
So, like, when you have a job, the mentality here is, oh yeah, I'm fully self-employed. I just happen to have one client, and the client pays me for this exact job right here. And then once you've done that, if you have the ability to expand outside that with like the true ownership, with the improvements, at that point, your boss will eventually notice that. Like, hey, he's doing his job, and he's also made some suggestions on how we can expand in certain areas.
Yeah.
They love that. And I'll say on the ownership side, if you happen to work for a very large company, like trade on the stock market company, you actually can have a little bit of a different ownership mentality. I recently increased my holdings of the company I work for. And I'll be honest, since that day, my entire mentality has shifted a lot. Because now, does my little effort actually affect our bottom line stock price and dividend? No.
Not at all. Not even a little
Not even a little bit. But in my mind, does it a little bit? And do I take more pride in my work? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it's that little bit there helping out.
Absolutely. And it's not, I really don't think it's that deep. It's just taking pride in what you do and being effective at what you are working on. And like we did previously, maybe explaining what's not an owner's mentality is a good way to describe this. Because what's not an owner's mentality is when your coworkers are milking the clock or passing the buck on responsibilities or anything that is, how should I put that?
Anything that's not directly guaranteed to be theirs, anything that belongs to both of us is not mine to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And it depends on the field that you're in.
Yeah.
But when you see people who are like, a common phrase in my industry is, that looks good for my house. It's just, again, it's a mentality item here of, yeah, I'm clocking in to get my hours, get what I can out of it and go home, That mentality will never take you anywhere.
if you, let's say you got to punch in at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So you arrive in the parking lot at 8:55. You hang out in your car until 8:59.
Mm-hmm.
At 9 o'clock, you then walk in. Then immediately, well, you got to use the bathroom. I mean, you're saying the company doesn't want you to use the bathroom? And then why they, after that, you got to get a coffee. At that point, well, now it's 9:20.
Yep.
And then same thing in reverse at the end of the day. Now, I'm not against anyone just working doing your job from 9 to 5. I'm not saying go in early or stay late. But if you happen to want anything other than the direct job you're in, it is helpful to show a little bit of extra effort. That extra 3 to 5 minutes at the beginning and end of the day, your boss notices that.
Yeah. And there's a common phrase out there, if you want to get paid for more than what you do, you have to do more than what you're paid for. Mm-hmm. And it's a twofold thing too, because you can go back to that ownership mentality versus employee mentality. A good example of the employee mentality would be, at the end of the day, at 5 o'clock, you're done, right? Mm-hmm. You work till 5, but at 5 o'clock, you go home. And you go home to your family or whatever it is that you're doing, and whatever happened at the end of that day can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, and there's a real blessing to that at times.
Yes, and that's the difference between ownership mentality, employee mentality, and just, what can I get out of this, and how do I be as lazy as I can and still get paid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ownership mentality is not having the thought, what is the minimum I can do to not get fired?
Right.
It's the opposite of that. Yeah, it's actually believing what's the maximum I can do and still get a reward and still do good for my job.
Yes.
Without killing myself.
How can I be effective at my job while I'm there, but still maintain a healthy relationship with my job?
Yes. Number 7, coachable and adaptable.
Ooh, this one applies a lot to me directly because I'm in a role where I have at least a few individuals that work for me, and it varies depending on what's going on. But I get asked a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I get asked to give some feedback on the individuals that work for me. And I will always, and I will stick to this till the day that I die. And that is an employee who is coachable and how should I say this? A coachable but inexperienced employee will always be more valuable than an uncoachable and highly skilled or experienced individual.
Can I just add amen to that right there? Yes.
It's surprising to me how many people will argue with me on that over, and you'll see it just in the data trends of looking for experienced person, looking for experienced person, looking for experienced person, must have this much, got to have a degree, got to have a whatever, this many years of experience in the field. But you never see, we're okay if you don't have experience as long as you're coachable. Now, obviously, there's jobs out there that exist like that. But it's surprising to me how many people disagree with me, and you see it not in word, but in action. Mm-hmm. Because they'll only hire the people that have experience, and then come to find out that they can't teach them anything because they think they know everything. And then they either suck at their job or they get fired.
Mm-hmm. It's not like jobs don't shift. Jobs, the roles, things adapt. If you're a mechanic, things are changing all the time. Mm-hmm. You don't always get to work on a 1990s Honda Civic. Sometimes things improve. Sometimes they get worse.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to adapt and be humble. If every time your boss asks you, hey, can you do this differently? Or, hey, we updated procedure and policy. I need you to do it differently. And if the first thing you do is flip the freaking table every time, you're not there. That's not coachable.
And I think it comes a lot with the more experienced an individual is, the less likely they are to be humble enough to say, I don't know how to do that, or I need to learn something new, because they think, I'm the best and I know everything or whatever. And
on that kind of same one there where they have a lot of experience, some of them are like, I don't have the confidence to learn something new now. I'm set in my ways. As soon as someone says I'm set in my ways, I have a real hard time not just writing them off immediately. That's real difficult for me to hear.
And it's in every occupation too. Like you said, it can be anything blue collar like a mechanic. It can be all the way to white collar in finance or business or whatever it is. But if you've got an individual who thinks they know it all or are just overly experienced, and they won't admit that they've got room to improve or room to grow or something new to learn, that individual is much harder to deal with, in my opinion, than the individual who doesn't know a lot but is happy to learn and happy to grow. And it somehow always seems to be the new employees are the ones that are happy to learn, or I should say, new to the field, not necessarily new to the company they're working for. New to the field versus, even if you have someone who switches over, it seems to be worse when that happens. If they're making a horizontal shift within the industry, it seems more often than not, when they come from wherever they're going to in the same field, they think they know it all, and they're coming over here to show you how to do it.
There's a big difference between 15 years of experience and the same job.
15 years ago.
Yes. Now hold on. There's a way to phrase this here that's going to land, and I apologize for not having this worked out beforehand.
Dang it, you don't know it off the top of your head.
Just because you've worked the same job for 15 years is not the same as ever improving on the same job for 15 years.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Number 8, which kind of feeds into this one, previous one here. Team player.
Ooh, team player.
This is in a mentality that we often have, which is it's all on us. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Which, by the way, I don't know what freaking bootstraps are. I think of like Bootstrap Bill Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean every time I say it. Anyway, sorry. Independent. Scrap that.
How do you not know what a bootstrap is?
White collar. Yes, we'll have to figure that out. But team player, you have to be able to play on a team. Work as a team. Sometimes you actually just have a true independent job. It's just you. You are the marketing, the sales, the CEO, the producer, everything. It's all you. You're a one-man show. That's few and far between, and you can only grow so much.
I actually would be willing to say that the vast majority of corporate America doesn't actually know what it means to be a team player.
Sure.
Like, true.
A real team player.
Yes. Like, it's like the most commonly said term in corporate America. Team player, team player, team player. But if you actually sit down and are like, okay, how are you being a team player in your job? Dude, it would blow your mind.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say, I want to brag for just a quick moment here. At my job, we've actually begun being a team, and we are using the language, and then we are talking about how each of our roles is different and how they all mesh together. And because of that, we are all actually like starting to come together, man.
And
it's kind of nice.
That's fantastic, because that's always the end goal. but it's just not very often achieved.
So, Scooby-Doo live action movie, the first one. Camera goes right to Fred, and Fred says, and they say, "Fred, what's the secret of, the gang and all that?" He's like, "Teamwork. I do a tremendous amount of teamwork." It's like, Fred, no. No, there is no I in team, but there is an M and an E. All right, that's
Okay.
But no, to be a team player, you actually have to care about your teammates
Yes, you have to care about your teammates
and know that they add value. They do.
and be humble enough to know that they might be right and you might be wrong.
Take it back. Take it back.
Or that they're better at it than you are.
Or maybe they're better at their specific role than you are.
I should say. That specific item, one specific thing, that might be their job. Even though you want to do it, might be better to let them do it.
And sometimes maybe you are better at their job than they are, but you're doing your job.
Right.
So now you need them to do their job so you can do your job.
Yeah, and you could have a whole another podcast on what it means to be a team player. But at the end of the day, it's a mentality of not just me first, but the team first. And that's easy to say, but that's what it is.
Yeah, goes from me first to we first.
That was cheesy, but we're going to move past it.
Number 9, resilient.
Ooh, okay. This is not as common. You don't see this one as much.
Able to handle pressure, setbacks, and change effectively.
I do think that's important.
So, I'm a transparency kind of guy. There have been times in my work history where my production was so low that I had to be coached. Okay? It's happened. I'm not just perfect over here. Though.
Really?
I know.
Really?
Because you assume everyone on the internet, though, is nothing but 8-figure earners every day of the week, and you can tell by our jackets that's us, naturally. But, that was a setback. That was not a fun meeting to be in.
Right.
Where the boss is like, "Hey, what's going on? All right, we're making a plan together because we have to fix this now." That was actually a very productive meeting. I appreciate the fact that they were willing to do that and actually sit down and make a plan with me. That was wonderful.
Yep.
Definitely made a huge shift. It was wonderful. But if I had just said, "No, it's your fault for not giving me all the stuff I want. This is just the way I am," none of that would have worked. It's not about... It's about how you get back up once you got hit.
Yeah.
That is.
Yep. And it can also be, in another sense, if you get in over your head, look, I'm overstressed, got too much pressure on me. And do you crumble, or do you say, "Hey, I need a little bit of help here, but I'm going to push through it with a little bit of help"?
Yep.
Or do I just lose my mind, have a meltdown, and just fall apart?
And this could be with, hopefully it doesn't happen very often to people, but customers yell.
Yeah.
But customers get upset sometimes.
Yep.
You make a mistake, and you deserve to be yelled at. Not that you ever deserve to be yelled at, but sometimes you deserve the tongue lashing you're going to be getting here. Yeah.
Or, like we have talked about before, if your boss is difficult to deal with,
yes.
If your boss is difficult to deal with, that might be an item of resilience. So.
And then to tie a nice little bow on this whole thing, number 10, strong moral framework.
This is not one you see hardly at all in corporate America.
This is an underlying part of society that we assume, and I want to say assume unfairly at this point, because historically we've had a much more common bond.
You're assuming,
yeah.
There's no way to metric it.
Right.
How do you metric someone's moral?
Right? But no, having someone of strong ethics, reputation preferably as well. Someone who's, not going to steal from the company, going to respect the company's time, respect their own time and themselves. Things outside, if they saw something wrong, they would say something.
Right.
That's the kind of person you want. Do you want the person at your job who, if they see the CFO fudging some numbers and taking some extra petty cash every day, who's not going to tell the CEO? No one likes a rat. I get that.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. But you got to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it goes back to mentality. If you're looking out for the best in other people and you're not just all about yourself, then your moral compass is going to follow behind that. And more likely, it's actually going to lead that. But if like you said, if you're the type of person who, not hurting me, that's... You'll get away with it until you don't.
Do we need to watch Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's one of those hard ones because you can never really, like I said, how do you put a metric on someone's moral compass? And you'll get away with it until you don't, in which that's the point when they realize, okay, this isn't a good employee because they have no moral compass. It's easy to get away with it. Whatever, as simple as, I'm going to put 30 minutes on that timesheet when really it was only 15, and nobody's going to know the difference. You have to be accountable to yourself, and if you aren't, eventually it will catch up to you.
No one actually ever gets away with anything.
Even if it's in the form of keeping you up at night.
Just because we don't see the punishment does not mean that they're not paying a price.
Yep.
It may not be now. It might be later.
Yep. But again, I think really just to tie this whole thing together, it all comes back to mentality. You could take those 10 items and just put mentality.
Yes.
And I think you would be exactly right on each one of them. Because it's who you are as a person that reflects on who you are as an employee. And that's the difference between good employees and bad employees. We have these metrics in different industries on what makes a good employee. But it's just because we can't define mentality for every industry. You can't just put up a job posting and say, good mentality. That's what you got to have. But that's really what it comes down to. They're looking for someone they can trust to do the right thing and have the right mentality. And that's what it takes to be a good employee.
And as we were going through this list, if you saw some of those that were lacking for you personally, let's start working on it. Because I'm just thinking for myself, I have some of these I need to be working on better. And, it's going to be it's always an uphill battle, and that's okay.
And if you're not seeing, if you're like, meh, I'm great at all 10 of those, it's because you're not applying them to your specific situation. Now, yes, some people are better at it than others. But there's always room for improvement, and the mentality is what makes a good employee.